president discussed the deep.
Good morning and welcome to the WSJM morning show for, what is it, Wednesday already? Wednesday, April 30th, last day of April. Good morning to a couple of special guests that I have in studio this morning. Arthur Havlicek is the president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. Glenn Youngstead is the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
I offered coffee. Did I not?
You did.
How many cups of coffee have you had in your lifetime, Glenn?
2.
In your lifetime, 2.
And that was under duress.
I've had 2 this morning, for the record.
I'm not old enough for coffee.
Would you mind sharing your coffee? When did you last have coffee?
I think it was about 1971 when I was in Vietnam.
In Vietnam, was it good?
No. No. It's never been good.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate that.
pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you for having to drink the swill in Vietnam.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun
What happened?
experience. Well, I just flew helicopters and Hueys in Vietnam. It was a great experience.
Wow.
You know, you had your ups and downs, but, you know, what else?
Oh, boy.
It's going to get
Very
worse.
nice.
It's going to get worse.
I like that. That was a dad joke, if you've not
Yes.
heard. Yeah. How do you still? When was the last time you flew a helicopter?
I flew in one last summer when lest we forget had Huey 369 here.
Okay. That bring back memories?
Oh yes, yes. I had my son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandkids on board, and that was a real treat for them.
Wow. And you didn't pilot that time?
No. They knew better than to do that.
When is the last time you were at the controls when you flew a helicopter?
1975.
Okay. Still in Vietnam?
No, I was thinking about getting into a guard unit down in Indiana that flew helicopters. So I
Okay.
went out for a check ride.
Okay.
So.
They wanted to see what you had.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
Well, I was in grad school at the time, and I think I better focus on grad school rather than
Smart.
flying every weekend.
Okay. Very good. How did you get into helicopter flying? I'm sorry that we're totally derailing the conversation.
This is
Arthur.
as cool as anything we're going to talk about.
Well-
This is cool.
Well, I was going through OCS at Fort Benning, Officer Candidate School.
Yeah.
And it became painfully obvious to me that being an infantry platoon leader in Vietnam was not a healthy job assignment. And about the same time I came to that realization, they had a call out for anyone interested in going to flight school. I thought, well, you know, that's going to keep me in the States an extra 9 months. And
Yeah.
I always want to learn how to fly. So I raised my hand and took the paper pencil test and then the physical. And they said, okay, you can go to flight school. So I
Yeah.
decided to do that.
Wow.
I think it was the right decision because 30% of my OCS class died in Vietnam.
I'm
And
sorry.
only 2 guys from my flight school class were killed in Vietnam, and they were both stupid accidents that shouldn't have happened. But it was a fun experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for your service.
My pleasure.
In just the I think one time I had the opportunity, the Marines had a Marine Day for Capitol Hill staffers in Washington, D.C. And I'm pretty sure the objective of that is to make sure every congressional staffer knows you need to send more money to the military services, because they put us in a helicopter on a hot day with no ventilation and the door to the back was open and the exhaust was flying into the. I got so sick. It was something else. So thank you again for your service and doing what you did. All right. We'll talk about more helicopter stuff. No, we'll talk about Lincoln Charter Township and a housing development that's happening there at the Snowflake Motel. It's at 3822 Red Arrow Highway, the former site of the Snowflake Motel. But they want to put something new, big, and different there. We'll talk about that with Glenn and Arthur in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Back after news in just a moment.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WSJM News now. Team coverage from the WSJM newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show, 7:05 on your Wednesday, April 30th. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. As we said, pleasant temperatures out there right now. 41 degrees under partly cloudy skies in Benton Harbor. St. Joseph, 43 degrees. South Haven is 40 right now. Dowagiac, 40 degrees. In Niles, it's 41. And in Eau Claire, it's 41 degrees. The forecast for today does call for partly sunny skies, a 30% chance of rain showers this afternoon. A high around 67 degrees, light winds out of the east. Tonight's forecast, mostly cloudy, a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms tonight, low around 58. Thursday, mostly cloudy, an 80% chance of showers on Thursday. So if you have an outdoor plan, make sure you have an umbrella with you. High around 70 degrees. And then Friday, partly cloudy, a 20% chance of showers during the day, becoming 40%. And as we go into the evening, the high on Friday is going to be around 60 degrees. We're going to keep that temperature range on Saturday and Sunday, but we're going to get rid of the precipitation. So Saturday and Sunday, just partly cloudy skies, high of 58 on Saturday, raising up to 65 on Sunday, and then no precipitation forecast for the beginning of next week, Monday and Tuesday. We're going to have mostly sunny skies, a high around 72 degrees. Tigers lost another one to the Houston Astros last night, 6-4. They play again this afternoon. The first pitch is set for 2:10 this afternoon. You can hear it right here on WSJM. In just a moment, we will hear from Arthur Havlicek, President and CEO of the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber, and Glenn Youngstead, Supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township. We're going to be talking about affordable housing. So join us. You can hear it here on the WSJM dial or on our video live stream. That's on YouTube and Facebook. See that right now. Okay, first off, we're going to get some news from the WSJM newsroom. St. Joseph City Commissioners are weighing their options when it comes to a new parental leave policy for city employees. Speaking at this week's regular commission meeting, City Manager Emily Hackworth laid out a proposal that would give 8 weeks of paid time off to employees when they have a baby or adopt. She said the policy would only apply to full-time employees, and the 100% paid time off would have to be used within 6 months of the child's arrival. Commissioner Michelle Binkley, however, suggested 8 weeks of paid time off was probably too much.
I think I want to know a little bit more. I know that other places have fewer weeks and other places have maybe a couple more weeks.
Binkley said 6 weeks might be more agreeable to her. However, Commissioner Michael Sorolla questioned having a policy at all, saying he supports the federally required 12 weeks parents can take without pay, but not the city paying wages during that leave.
I just don't think this is the most responsible use of taxpayer dollars. That's my opinion. We have a lot of other major needs, and I don't think we need to add another liability to the budget. I totally understand allowing people to have time off, but to pay them for that, I think, is going down the wrong path.
Sorolla said perhaps employees with a new birth could use vacation or other comp time. He added he might agree to 1 week of paid leave. Hackworth said the policy would help with employee attraction and retention. She also said the biggest expense would likely create would be overtime at the Department of Public Safety and payouts when an employee leaves. Commissioners Michael Fernandez and Tess Ulrey were willing to go ahead with the 8-week proposal, with Fernandez introducing a motion to approve the policy. He said it would show that St. Joseph is a good place to work, live, and grow. Mayor Brooke Thomas suggested the matter be tabled for now so people have more time to mull things over. Fernandez withdrew his motion, and commissioners will take up the question again at a later meeting. Tomorrow is the big day for the Benton Harbor Soup Kitchen as it completes its move to a new location. Earlier this year, the Soup Kitchen operators learned their lease with the Salvation Army was canceled and they would no longer be able to use that facility due to structural issues. In March, the kitchen reached a deal to purchase the former Lark's Barbecue building at 174 West Main Street. Soup Kitchen Board President K.C. Gast was a guest on the WSJM Morning Show yesterday and said within just about 8 weeks, the kitchen managed to secure a new building and move in.
We're moving the last of our stuff into the former Lark's building, and we will be serving sandwiches out the door as we did during COVID on May 1st.
Gast says there's a whole convoy of volunteers helping to move the operation to the Lark's property.
People have just been so willing to help out with everything with the building. It's just amazing, and nothing happens by chance.
Gast says it'll take a few months to get the kitchen facilities in order and for the Berrien County Health Department to approve the new kitchen. Once Health Department approval is obtained, they say they can start serving hot food again, but until then, it's bagged lunches. Gast promises the new soup kitchen will look like a first-rate diner that closes at 1 in the afternoon each day, so it will fit in with the atmosphere on Main Street. Gast says it takes about 1,000 volunteers a year to run the soup kitchen. And finally, applications are now available for the next round of Heart of Cook grants administered by the Berrien Community Foundation. The Heart of Cook is the Cook Nuclear Power Plant's charitable arm, awarding thousands of dollars to nonprofits each year. The BCF's Kelly Gamble tells us the program seeks to support projects that will enhance the quality of life in Southwest Michigan and Northwestern Indiana.
The Heart of Cook grant seeks to support the projects and programs that have a focus on environmental protection and preservation, human services, and educational projects. While those are the focus areas of this grant program, nonprofits are welcome to apply if they have another idea that they're looking for funding for.
Projects that involve Cook plant employees also get special consideration. The recipients are selected by a panel of Cook employees once the Berrien Community Foundation has collected all of the applications. Gamble says applications for the Heart of Cook grants are due on June 9th. That's a look at some of the news that we're covering in the WSJM newsroom. We have more to talk about, including we have special guests in the studio right now. Let's say a quick hello to Glenn Youngstead, supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township, and Arthur Havlicek, President and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. We're here to talk about the St. Joseph parking issue, right?
Can't wait.
Okay.
Let's go.
No, I'm just kidding. We'll talk about that later. But what we want to talk about is affordable housing. Red Arrow Bluffs. Who wants to start? What is that project?
Well, it's going to be in the old Snowflake Motel property.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Arthur came to me shortly after I took office and said, we think we might have somebody interested in that property. And we jumped at that one right away.
Wow.
They want to put in 200 apartments on the front part of the property, and then perhaps 20 single-family homes on the west side towards the lake.
Okay.
There's a desperate need for affordable housing within the entire state, or within the entire country for that matter. And we're really interested in that. Talking to some of our businesses and Greg Edding, who was superintendent of Lakeshore Schools, we need affordable housing for young employees coming in, young teachers that are coming in, and this is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
It's been a while since an apartment complex or a residential complex of this size has been built in Lincoln Charter Township.
I went back and researched. It's been 50 years since an apartment complex was built in the
50
township.
years.
50 years.
Wow.
You go back to the 70s, early 70s.
Why the delay?
Either people didn't think there was a need for it, or they focused more on single-family homes.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Thank you for the intro on the background on that. We'll talk about that and other things that are happening in Lincoln Charter Township this hour right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Let's get some sports in though first. Dave Wolf, and then a couple of messages, and then we'll be back. Although on the video live stream, we're going to keep talking. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
in the
Your control board is more complex than my Huey.
See, I like to hear that because I want to fly a helicopter at some point if it's safe. How hard is it? Come on, how hard is it to fly a helicopter?
It's tricky.
Here, get up close to the microphone, please.
It's
Thank you.
really tricky.
Why is it tricky?
Well, if you've flown a fixed wing,
Yeah.
and you try to transition it into a Huey, you have to relearn a lot of things. Like you don't need airspeed in a
Okay.
helicopter, where in a fixed wing you do. If you don't have airspeed,
No lift.
you fall out of the air.
Yeah.
And you've got all your hands and your feet working at the same time in a coordinated effort. The collective, which is the lever on your left side, controls the pitch and the main rotor blade.
Okay.
The cyclic controls the rotor plane in terms of forward, to the right, to the left, back. And then the pedals also control the anti-torque rotor blade in the back. So
Okay.
you got the rotor blade going kind of counterclockwise if you're looking from above. So the aircraft has a tendency of turning to the right.
Okay.
So you have to as you increase torque in the system, you have to apply more pedal, left pedal. Otherwise, you're going to.
Yeah, the counter motion. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this all has to become just second nature.
Like
to you.
breathing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Sounds like you can still fly.
well, it's one of these. It's kind of like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You know, after a while. Although I don't think you'd want to fly with me my first time at the controls.
My first experience flying a helicopter was when on Christmas morning, my parents got me the little thing. It had a thing in the center, a cable that went out, and a little plastic. Remember those?
I had one.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
Arthur won't remember those.
No, he's too young.
He's too young. You had a birthday yesterday. Happy belated birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
What'd you
Thank
do?
you.
Anything special?
Just a small dinner with the family, which is all I wanted.
Nice.
Being around, folks 24/7, it feels like I just want to be around them, on a special occasion.
Yeah.
So the two girls, my wife, and then, our immediate family in the area. It was nice.
Very nice. What'd you have for dinner?
A stew. My mom brought over a stew, but the highlight was probably a cookie skillet that my wife made.
A cookie skillet.
Yeah, instead of a cake. I mean, I'm a sucker for cookie skillets, and so she made one from scratch, homemade everything.
Okay.
And it was delicious. Put some ice cream on there. It was
That sounds really good. Yeah. We also heard word that you had a meatloaf cake at some point.
Yes.
What is that?
Yes. So the team at the chamber knows that I'm a fan of meatloaf, and anyone with their head screwed on, I think, is a fan of meatloaf. It's a solid option.
Or cottage cheese loaf.
It's comfort food. It's comfort food. So, in their good-natured humor, they actually made a meatloaf, but it looks kind of like a raspberry cheesecake with like the ketchup in the middle, and then the potatoes were kind of curled around the side. It was intricate, and apparently Molly on our team spent hours on it. Pretty funny. And it was delicious.
So it was a real meatloaf.
Oh yeah.
It was not a cake that looked like a meatloaf.
It was meatloaf that looked like a cake.
That's fun.
Yeah. Talented.
That's very
talented.
So everyone had a little piece of meatloaf around the office.
We cut it just like a cake, and yeah.
We've got to get back on the air now. We'll be right back. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
Partly to mostly sunny skies for the first part of the day. The clouds will increase this afternoon. We top out around 65. We do expect rain showers this afternoon and this evening. Rain showers will stay relatively light. Overnight tonight, we'll see temperatures drop down to 58. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, chance of showers and thunderstorms. High temperatures up around 68. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
7:18, it's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. Ken Lundberg here, and a couple of fun guests in the studio right now. Glenn Youngstead is here. He's the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township, and Arthur Havlicek, president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. If you're missing the video live stream, you're missing a lot, because we just talked to Arthur about one of his favorite comfort foods. It's meatloaf. And his, as we learned yesterday when Sarah Spoonholtz was here, she shared with us that the office staff surprised him with a meatloaf cake. And when you think about that, I thought, okay, yum, yum, sweet cake that looks like a meatloaf. No, it was not that at all. It was meatloaf that looked like a cake.
And it was good.
And it was delicious?
It was delicious.
Did you take some home?
There's still leftovers
at the
work,
office.
so anyone who wants to come over to the chamber,
There you go.
come on over, get some meatloaf.
You
start
want to
a
join the
business,
chamber
maybe.
and get a piece of meatloaf?
Yeah.
Come on by. All right. It's the WSJM Morning Show. We digress. We've been talking about helicopters, meatloaf, and a few other things. But right now we're going to talk about affordable housing. And we had an introduction of the development that's planned, Red Arrow Bluffs, that's coming at the site of the former Snowflake Motel. But Glenn mentioned, he's the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township, that Arthur, you came to him and said, hey, we have this potential deal. How did this all start? Who approached what, and what did they say to you, and what were you thinking?
So every development, it's a process in terms of land ownership, the developer, and in this case, you had a willing landowner, a doctor out of Cornwall, actually, who sees firsthand the need for workforce housing. Corwell's building apartments just a little bit north of what we're talking about on Red Arrow Highway for that exact same reason. And so, as organizations like mine, we often play matchmaker, and in this scenario, that match was already made where a firm called Great Lakes Capital out of South Bend, local firm, and reputable, was interested in potentially developing this property because they saw potential in Lincoln Township and that greater Stevensville area. And so we were connected to it. We took a look at the plans, helped with some wayfinding in those initial stages. But one of the big things we did simply was make a series of introductions to folks like, Glenn at the township. And it's been downhill from there, which is not the experience in every community. Lincoln is particularly pro-business. They've got a great environment where development like this can happen. It can happen quickly, and it can happen within the fabric of that community without changing things too much. So it was, these happen where there's like that ideal set of circumstances, and in Lincoln Township, it was that.
And when you talk about affordable housing, Arthur, this is not an issue that just cropped up overnight. This is not something that you decided, hey, we're going to take this on. This is something you've been working on for some time. You even had that seminar last year.
Correct. So the chambers, we've been talking about housing for a while, because as we talk to our businesses, small, medium, and large, they all say the same exact thing. We're struggling to find employees because our employees are struggling to find places to live. And you're watching families have to choose between proximity to their workplace and a series of other factors, right? I have to commute further to the school of choice. I have to commute further to my employment of choice. And where you live is driving more of those decisions, where traditionally, and how it should be, is you get to pick your school, you get to pick your community, and you get to find employment once you get there. So this development in particular, affordable means different things to different people. This is a missing middle, is what we want to call it. It is for that prime working age, maybe entry level folks who are in the workforce, your teachers, your police, your firefighters, your nurses at Corwell. This is a place where they can get in for reasonable rent. Some of the units will be restricted to a certain percentage of the AMI there.
AMI.
Area median income.
Okay.
Sorry. And so it's just a great thing. We don't see many 200 unit developments anywhere in the state, frankly. So the fact that Southwest Michigan, and really in the heart of Berrien County, the center of Berrien County and Lincoln Township, that we're getting one. And it's, we play matchmaker. It's all due to the ecosystem work that the township does to be that attractive place for investment.
Glenn, as the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township, what are you hearing from area residents and employers about the need?
Well, I just give you two examples. One, our superintendent of schools, Greg Eating, is very interested in having affordable housing for new teachers coming in, usually right out of college. And also talking to one of the tool and die shops in Lincoln Township. They've got some apprentices that are driving 20, 30 miles to work because they really can't find affordable housing for them.
Right.
So I think it's just a win-win for everybody in the township and in Berrien County.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about it.
And maybe for those, just give us an update on the status. So Lincoln Charter Township has approved of the concept, and is it now still with Berrien County?
Yeah, the Planning Commission in Berrien County in Lincoln Township approved it early in April, and it's going to the County Planning Commission. I think their meeting is
this coming month.
In
about a week or two
in May. Okay.
And then it'll come back to the township for a final approval by the trustees.
Okay.
And then hopefully we can get ground flying soon after that. They've already working with Abden Marsh in terms of design of it. Incidentally, Great Lakes Capital, I went down to their facilities and apartment complexes they have down in Mishawaka and Granger.
Okay.
And they're first class housing units. So I'm impressed with them. I also talked to the mayor of Petoskey. They've got a project going on up there, and they're really excited about it and feel as if Great Lakes is a class operation.
How are the area neighbors thinking and feeling about this development?
Well, I think there was some questions at first. That property was under consideration by another developer about 10 years ago, and the people on the street just south of the property were concerned about it. And I encouraged Great Lakes Capital and Aben Marsh to meet with those residents and answer any questions they have. And I think that was a huge success. Some of the concerns they had, they said, well, that's not a big deal anymore. And you're going to get a few people say, oh, you're going to have a lot of construction noise. Well, yeah, you do. But that's
temporary.
That's temporary. Yeah. So I think we've got those people turned around, and they see a good potential for themselves, because I think it's going to probably increase the value of their property too.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead, Arthur.
And I think, just to jump in, that proactive approach that was taken there. So we co-hosted sort of an open house with Great Lakes Capital and Aben Marsh and the township, and actually pamphleted the neighborhood, the neighboring residents, and invited them to come in and learn and ask questions, so that they understood what the development was, what it was going to look like, and so that the developers, frankly, could accommodate some of their concerns while it was still early in the process. So between the thoughtful approach to actually get their input and touch base with them at the outset, and then the thoughtful design, which is, it's laid out again in a very thoughtful manner. Aben Marsh has done a great job with that. This development is very different than the one that was proposed years and years ago. So a lot of the concerns that residents would have been addressed already.
Okay. And it's going to be right. You're listening to the WSJM Morning Show. We're talking with Glenn Youngstead, supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township, and Arthur Havlicek, president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. And we're talking about the affordable housing complex that's proposed at Red Arrow Highway at 3822 Red Arrow Highway. It's the former site of the Snowflake Motel, and it's called Red Arrow Bluffs. It's a proposed 200-unit complex, plus some single-family homes as well. How many single-family homes are they thinking? 20 of them. Will they be part of the same traffic pattern that goes onto Red Arrow Highway from where the apartment complex is?
There'll be an access road back.
A different road.
Yeah.
Okay. Question: if I'm on Red Arrow Highway, am I going to see a new stoplight at some point?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I mean, that's up to the state MDOT.
Okay.
On that issue, or the county road commission, but I don't think it's going to be necessary.
Okay.
That'll be up to them to decide.
Okay.
There was a traffic study conducted already, and even with the addition of these units, the impact there on Red Arrow could be defined as minimal. So
okay,
I don't see that it'll rise to that level of need.
Because any time of day, whenever I'm on Red Arrow Highway, I always get behind the person who's deciding to drive 35 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is about that road. It's 45 at least, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's supposed to be. All right. More on my driving patterns in just a moment.
Yes.
It's 7:28. It's the WSJM Morning Show. We'll continue this conversation on the video live stream in just a moment. We've got to get a couple of messages in and talk about our financial information from Bloomberg. That's coming up in just a moment. Also, the latest world and national news from ABC. And we'll have a preview of the stories we're covering in our WSJM newsroom. It's all coming up right here on the WSJM Morning Show. So, back on the video live stream. So you talk about noise from the construction. What can you do as a Lincoln Charter Township about leaf blowers? You didn't know what you were getting into with this interview, did you?
That went through a curve to me.
A helicopter pilot, I'm trying my best.
What?
No, I mean, leaf blowers, inevitably, whenever I decide to go outside, my neighbors, they crank up their leaf blowers.
Yeah. Well, I have an electric one, so it's a little quieter. But,
okay. All right. We'll deal with that.
Gasoline-powered ones are.
Is this a coordinated attack, Ken? Is this something that they're doing to you? Because
it might be now. At this point, it might be.
What are you doing to them is my question.
I'm quiet. I'm quiet as a mouse. I'm a church mouse. That's all I am. Okay, the Harley Davidson. Yes, you got me there.
Yeah. The
Oh,
drum
now
set.
it's coming out.
Yeah, the drum set in the garage.
One of
the
my boys,
fireworks.
one of my boys just got done with his first year in college. Came home from the University of Michigan. Yes, it's still April, but he's home, and his goal for the summer is to learn how to ride a motorcycle. I have no idea how to begin teaching him, but I took the bikes out yesterday to show him.
That's cool.
Isn't there a training program?
There are training programs. I need him to sign up for that
Yeah,
because I don't want to
think
break my
I
bike.
would insist that he do that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
For legal reasons, I would also insist that he.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, he said, well, can't we just go to a parking lot and go around? I'm like, you lay down one of
No,
these
no.
bikes, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't
Let's
parallel
lay down
parking
somebody
a
else's.
sedan.
So
This is
he's
different.
what, 18, 19?
19, yeah.
Yeah, well, his prefrontal cortex isn't developed yet. So,
He's still got some development. I like that.
yeah.
So we'll have, I like that. We'll have him learn on somebody else's bike on an approved certified licensing.
Yeah. I think that's the smart thing to do.
Back to our topic, just for a moment, affordable housing. And Arthur, I think you touched on this. What is affordable housing? What's affordable?
Yes. So I somewhat bristle at that definition because it depends on who you're talking to, right?
Yeah.
But so the entry level housing, move up housing, folks that might be buying a home for the first time, they might be in a lower wage career. A lot of affordable housing initiatives are targeted to that demographic. Missing middle is, a slightly higher income individuals, not high income, just slightly higher income, right? Workforce, primary workforce, steady jobs, usually salaried positions, but still difficult to get into housing for that first time. And the reason why it's referred to as the missing middle is that a lot of the incentive programs that help these developments pencil out are targeted towards that very low income demographic, as they should be. High income demographic doesn't need those incentive programs, and so there's this missing piece there in the center for these folks who really are the backbone of our local workforce. And so, to have a developer like Great Lakes Capital come and put together that capital stack that actually figures out those incentives and those missing pieces, it's a godsend, because those developments don't just happen.
So we're talking somewhere starting around what, $900 a month?
Anywhere from 900 to, I think they go up to 1,500, give or take.
Yeah. Depends on the size.
It depends on the size of the unit. So you'll have like a 1-bedroom, 1-bathrooms that are going to be restricted again to a certain percentage of AMI, and then some that are market rate, all within the same development. So, folks that maybe can't afford that market rate will still have an opportunity to grab one of those hopefully available restricted units.
You think this is going to fill up quick?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Definitely.
I think it'll become one of the premier places to live
Yeah.
in Berrien County,
Yeah.
because it's not just adding 200 units, it's where you're adding 200 units and what's going in addition to those units. So Lincoln Township has really, and we'll talk about it later, done a phenomenal job of developing amenities, surrounding this area. But then the development itself will have amenities. They've talked about, a pool, a dog run,
Clubhouse.
a clubhouse, things, sort of an all-inclusive feel. So folks that, decide to live there are going to be very happy. They'll have a lot of things on site and then a lot of things very nearby.
Okay. All right. We'll continue that conversation. We'll talk about the nearby amenities and what Lincoln Charter Township is doing about that. That is coming up in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Again, I'm Ken Lundberg. With me is Glenn Youngstead, Supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township, and Arthur Havlicek, huge fan of Meatloaf, also President of CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. Do you like the singer Meatloaf as well?
No,
I mean,
just the food. If I can't eat it, it
God
loses
rest his soul, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to get Sarah for bringing this up on the air. She had nothing else. The chamber does so much. We had nothing else to talk about but meatloaf.
I pressured her. All right. We'll have more in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Redesigning displays, expanding online pickup and delivery options, and even changing the lighting in stores across 47 states. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
I just got some real-time feedback on how the show is going from Glenn Youngstead, the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township. He said, this is going the wrong way. No, it's okay. We're doing all right, right?
Okay, well, if you say so.
We've covered a wide range of topics.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's right.
Again, if you're missing the video live stream, we're talking not only about the affordable housing issue, but a whole lot of other issues. I won't bring up what your food
Adjacent issues
Adjacent
like meatloaf
issues.
and kangaroos and helicopters.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. There's a theme there somewhere.
I can't see it.
We're going to continue the conversation. We'll talk about other things that are happening in Lincoln Charter Township. There's a whole lot going on, and so we'll talk about it. That's coming up. If you have questions or thoughts, just put them into the chat on our video live stream. We're on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to get the latest news from around the world right now with ABC.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. 100 days in office, President Trump marking that milestone in his second administration with a rally in Michigan and a sit-down exclusive interview with ABC's Terry Moran in the Oval Office.
What do you say to people who are concerned you are seizing too much power and becoming an authoritarian president like we haven't had before?
No, I would hate them to think that. I'm doing one thing. I'm making America great again.
New numbers on GDP released in half an hour.
Economists are forecasting a significant slowdown for the first quarter of 2025. Some even anticipating an outright decline, likely driven by a surge in imports as U.S. companies race to get ahead of those tariffs and bring goods here before they took effect.
ABC's Rebecca Jarvis. 50,000 Los Angeles County workers off the job for a second day, protesting for better pay. In London, a 33-year-old man's been charged with terror. Police say he tried to break into the Israeli embassy with a knife. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
7:37, it's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. Some of the news that will come up at 8 o'clock this morning. For the third time this year, the city of South Haven has appointed an interim police chief while they look for a new one. City manager Kate Hosier, who coordinates the search, shared a statement yesterday afternoon announcing Sergeant Adam DeBear will serve as interim chief at least through the summer. This follows the city hiring 2 other police chiefs this year, each who left after serving about a month in the role. We'll tell you more about that story. That's coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. Also, Corwell Health is planning to build new apartments in St. Joseph. We'll give you the details on that. And the St. Joseph City Commission has approved an agreement with St. Joseph today for the organization to take over management of lighthouse tours this summer. That's all coming up at 8 o'clock. Our news from the WSJM Newsroom. Right now, we're going to get a little bit on what's happening around the state and then our local sports with Dave Wolf.
The Michigan News Network.
All right, back on the video live stream. What do you want to talk about? What do you whisper? Secrets make no friends.
We're going to know where those new apartments
are. Those. So
I've seen
Lookout. Yes, there's some activity there. Lookout Point.
So let's see. They're planning to add a new building with 56 units next to the Lookout Point complex on Lakeshore Drive near Hawthorne Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be just to the north of the existing 3 buildings at 3363 Lakeshore.
That's a nice looking complex.
Yes. And again, needed. I mean, both of these developments are needed. No, usually if we were operating in a normal environment, someone would be wiggling because there's just down the road, there's another major development offering the same thing as us, but not in this case. Both are needed and we're still short hundreds and hundreds of units.
So, I mean, it begs the question, we have a population problem in Michigan and in Southwest Michigan. So how adding more housing as the population is declining, how can we make sense of that?
Well, so part of the decline is lack of available places to live, or lack of attractive places to live. And I'm a big proponent of, not necessarily the build it and they will come, but if we're building developments with certain demographics in mind, like Riddero Flats is for that prime working age professional. That's who we desperately need in this area. We will attract that population based on what we're building because what we're building is attractive to them.
There's another interesting group. It's these elderly people who don't need to be in a nursing home, want to stay in their home, but very frankly, they have difficulty maintaining it.
Yes.
Whether it's cutting the grass or painting or
Yep.
whatever. I noticed that when I was out knocking on doors pre-primary last summer, there were a number of people said, I'd like to get out of my house, but I can't find anything affordable.
Right.
And this is a national problem.
Yes.
with
Yes.
Building materials going out of sight.
Off the charts. Yeah.
So it's an issue.
No, you're right. I think you're right at both the age ranges, because as you mentioned, Arthur, as you're starting out your career, you're looking for something specific.
Yes.
And you're looking to make that move up.
Correct.
Not available.
Not available. And I'm probably in that scenario. So I'm lucky. I'm a homeowner, purchased in 2020, 3-bedroom ranch, but now, all 3 bedrooms are occupied and the elbow room is just not there. But for me to sell that home and then take what equity we do have and try to find something bigger.
Good luck.
Yeah. But then the same is true as Glenn was saying. You've got a move up problem and you've got a move down problem. So some of these folks who, rightfully so are aging in place, but maybe my mom is an example of this, still in our home, my childhood home in Bridgman, by herself now, far too big to maintain. But where does she go? That's a smaller footprint. That's more, can be maintained.
There were 2 smaller houses built on Maiden Lane, right next to Maiden Lane Cottages, maybe 1,100 square feet. They went for $425,000.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, they're nice looking homes, but a lot of people can't afford a $400,000 house.
I think about what my parents bought their first established home for, and what they sold it for. It was probably $50,000 more than they bought it for, which was a huge amount percentage wise. And then what they would have to do to get that same home today, and it's just impossible.
I know.
Impossible.
That was really the crux of the summit that we held, talking about housing and the trap that we're in, where it is both shelter and a financial product at the end of the day.
Right.
And there's tension between those two things.
Okay. We're talking with Arthur Havlicek. He's the president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber, and Glenn Youngstead, supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township. Glenn brought in a very concise list of those things that Lincoln Charter Township is working on. You want to start going through your list?
Sure. First of all, for those people who live along John Beers, you're well aware that we've got some sidewalks going in between South Roosevelt and DeMauro. This has been in the planning stage for over 4 years, and it's going to be a beautiful sidewalk connecting up the village with the township, and for kids who maybe want to go to the library or the parks, it's just a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Jimmy John's is going in north of Culver's.
Yep.
Taco Bell is going to go in where the old Long John Silver's was located.
Yeah.
Drive and Shine is moving in across from Myers.
What is the status of that development?
Well, they're moving along. They're moving dirt right now, and I think they'll probably be pouring footers before long. So
that's good news.
That's good news,
because they took care of the 5 o'clock. What was it? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, they demolished that 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
and it's been sitting vacant.
So that, when do they have an estimated time on when they're going to open that Drive and Shine?
I don't think it'll be open until early next year.
Okay,
is my guess.
Okay.
Couple other things going on. Exit 23, Lincoln Township adopted that exit, and we do road cleanup there 3 times a year. We had one on April 12th. We'll have another one on July 12th, and then another one on September 30th. And that's a real education, going out, picking up trash. You never know what you're going to run into.
What have you found?
Unfortunately, a lot of liquor bottles, beer cans, fast food packaging. Found a complete pizza still in the box. I think what happened, they put it on the roof. They're getting in the car. They forgot they left it on the roof.
I don't want this pizza. I said no anchovies.
Going around the curve and it slides off, crazy. The other thing we got going on, we're going to be painting 1,400 plus fire hydrants.
Wow.
In the township. And that's all going to be done with volunteers.
Okay.
Which
that's a money saver.
We did that 12, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And they're in need of repainting.
Do they get a theme, or is there a standard you're going to be
It's
following?
Lakeshore Lancer red.
Okay.
So,
red for fire plugs. I like it.
Yes. Another big thing going on in September on the 13th, we have our fun day at the community park. We'll have a magician, somebody doing balloon tying. They've got some other projects or
Nice.
programs. There'll be, I think one of the service clubs is going to be selling hot dogs, and they're going to try to get a food truck in there. The police department, fire department will have displays, and they're looking for volunteers to help out.
Okay.
So all they have to do is go to Community Fun Day website, and they can volunteer to help out.
Let's reinforce that in just a moment. We have to get back on the air. It's 7:45. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
Partly to mostly sunny skies for the first part of the day. The clouds will increase this afternoon. We top out around 65. We do expect rain showers this afternoon and this evening. Rain showers will stay relatively light. Overnight tonight, we'll see temperatures drop down to 58. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, chance of showers and thunderstorms. High temperatures up around 68. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show, 7:46. We continue, and these two gentlemen who are here today are making me very hungry because we keep talking about meatloaf. We keep talking about food establishments that are going in at exit 23. We're talking with Glenn Youngstead. He is the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township. And with Glenn is Arthur Havlicek, the president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. You were talking on the video live stream, Glenn, about stuff that's happening at exit 23. You were talking about some of the restaurants there. Can you review that for folks who are listening?
Sure.
What food establishments are going in? Because there's been a lot of turnover there recently.
Okay. Taco Bell is going to go in on the west side of Red Arrow Highway. That used to be where the old Long John Silver's was located. And then Jimmy John's is putting up a restaurant just north of Culver's, which will be nice. And then, of course, we've got the Drive and Shine going in across from Myers.
Not a food establishment, but
Not a food establishment.
if you get a Jimmy John's and you go down to Drive and Shine next
You can get
year,
your car wash.
you'll be good to go.
Maybe they can have a promotion between the two. Or
I like
something.
it.
Yeah,
We should be
whatever.
their marketing department.
There you go.
But you can't go onto social media, especially like Facebook, and not see something posted about Exit 23. And one of the big ones most recently was that McDonald's
Right.
that went out of business. They
That was
left
a
in the middle of the
surprise to
night.
us, too.
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of the night, they took down the golden arches and cleaned out the building. It's now for sale.
Mhm.
It's still for sale. And my understanding is, when I talked with real estate agents, is they have a covenant on there that says no other food establishment can go in there
Good
for
luck
like 20
selling
years.
that.
Yeah. I mean, so what do you do with that property?
I don't know. It's a fairly small footprint.
Yeah.
It may go back a little further, but that's a good question. I don't know what else you can put in there.
Is that something that maybe Lincoln Charter Township at some point might think about? Hey, you can't put these riders on. I don't know. I don't even know the legal standing you would have on that.
I don't know. We'd have to talk
Okay.
to the township attorney on that type.
Let's
of
get
issue.
them in here. Let's talk
There
to
you
them.
go.
All
There
right.
you go.
Well, anyway, maybe they'll get a McDonald's back that can work it.
Well, if they get one with good service.
We're talking with Glenn Youngstead and Arthur Havlicek. We'll continue this conversation during our Moody on the Market update. It's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And you were going through, you need some volunteers for an upcoming event. Do you want to reinforce that?
Yeah, the fun day, which will be September 13th, 11 to 4. And we're always looking for some parents and some adults to work with the kids. They'll probably be face painting. They'll be able to climb up on a fire truck and look
Nice.
inside a police vehicle. Maybe that's the only time we want them to be in a
Hopefully,
police
yeah.
vehicle. But it occurred to me this morning, maybe they ought to have a pickleball tournament.
Oh, there you go.
I mean,
It's very popular.
pickleball
Right.
is popular, and they are very passionate people.
They are.
The funny thing was, when I decided I was going to run, I get an email from the head pickleballer in Lincoln Township.
There's a head pickleballer?
Well, that's what I call him.
Okay.
And he wanted to know my position on pickleball.
Too loud.
I've never even thought about pickleball as a position to have.
Yeah.
But
That's funny.
But they are very passionate people.
Yeah.
And every township talks about their pickleballers.
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of the big issues facing Lincoln Charter Township?
Well,
we talked about affordable housing.
We talked about affordable housing. One of the things that Lincoln Township is really good at is maintaining our sewer system.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about your sewer system.
You know it when your sewer system isn't working, you know. and Lincoln Township has been really good about properly maintaining it, and they have this. We work with a vendor, and they inspect the sewer line, and when needed, they can line the sewer line.
Okay.
With it looks like a fiberglass material, but it's an interesting process, and we've done 2,000 feet of inspection and lining this so far this year, and they'll be doing more later on in the summer. But it's important that you maintain that type of infrastructure within the township.
Now you talk about the sewer infrastructure. Have there been any developments on the Maiden Lane sewer line, your agreement with St. Joe Township?
I think we're getting much closer. I hope we're waiting on some data from the city on some usage issues. And once we have that, I think we're going to be able to complete that. That's been going on way too long. It's been going on 3-4 years.
How come, why can't Lincoln Charter and St. Joe Township get together on what the actual charge should be?
Well, that's probably a good question. I'm not quite sure I sometimes fully understand it, but I think we're getting real close.
Okay. And the basic, if I understand correctly, the basic is you want to make sure that Lincoln Charter Township is charged for what it uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think St. Joe Township and Lincoln Township want to get this thing resolved because it's been going on way too long.
Okay. Very good. Anything else?
Well, the library remodel,
love that.
It's great. It's not only the building, but it's the programming Joelle Wake has put together for that facility. And I think they want to do some outdoor stuff in the back. Joelle has just done an incredible job with that library.
It's a great library.
Oh, yeah.
Even before the remodel, it was a great place to go. I would take my mother there. She has dementia, and so we get out for outings.
Sure.
And we just go into one of the rooms there and just use it and draw or read or talk or whatever. It's just a great place. So I love that they did the remodel as well.
Well, you know, it's kind of one of the jewels of Lincoln Township. It really is.
It is.
And Joelle does an incredible job, and her entire staff.
Yeah.
So we're real happy about that. Master plan's been completed.
Okay.
And that's going to be published. It'll be on the website here real soon. And parks. I mean, we've got 150 acres of parks.
In Lincoln Charter Township?
Lincoln Township.
Wow.
And a lot of that's got to be mowed. So
Arthur, I'm on it.
There you go.
I got the zero turn. Let's go.
Okay. You can volunteer. But you're
I'd be
living
happy
in the
to.
township.
No, but I can volunteer.
Okay,
So can't I?
But, you know.
You're buying the gas, right?
Sure.
Okay.
$3.39 a gallon this morning.
Oh, well, it's going down.
You said yes already. So.
I mean, and with all the soccer programs starting up and baseball programs, there's a lot of good things for kids to do within the township. And then with the new sidewalk, you know, they're going to be able to ride their bikes to the parks.
Very nice.
Which is exciting.
Okay. All right. We're going to have to come back. We have a couple more messages we'll get to, and then we'll wrap up this interview. But this has been part of the Moody on the Market update as well as the WSJM Morning Show. The Moody on the Market update is brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today. They are your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. It's 754.
We're watching over you.
All right. I love your line about the sewer maintenance. You can tell when it's not being maintained well.
Well, that's true. You have
there are
almost
signs.
Immediate notice. But we have a guy, Adam Schramm. His job every day is to go to those lift stations, climb down 20, 30 feet into the ground,
Yeah.
and inspect to make sure those pumps are working properly.
Wow.
And this guy is incredible, and he's got a passion for sewers. I mean, that's kind of crazy. You never think about it, but you need people like that to take care of things like that. And he does an incredible job and loves what he's doing. And we're fortunate to have Adam and the rest of that team there to do that stuff.
What do you get the most calls about for Lincoln Township?
Oh, sometimes roads. I had one a couple weeks ago from this older gentleman. It came in on Saturday. I didn't hear it until Monday. His cable went out.
And they called you.
And they called us.
Okay.
And so I called him back on Monday morning to find out what was going on.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, it came back on in 20 minutes." Okay, good.
But that must make you feel good that they are familiar enough and confident enough in your service and your response that they call you first.
Well, yeah, and we've got an incredible staff. I mean, my office is right there by the staff, and somebody comes to the counter, and it's kind of like Chick-fil-A. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And they are very resident customer focused, and that's really fun to see going on. And I've had some friends who moved over from Chicago and have come into the township office. I say, we never would have had this experience in Chicago.
Yeah, I bet.
But I think part of that is the culture in the township, and maybe Chicago is just not as resident friendly as we are over
You
here.
met the people from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to conclude this interview. We'll come right back in just a moment. Maybe I'll ask you how the new form of government is feeling. So we'll talk about that in a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Terry Enders knows a lot about dashboard warning lights. With state-of-the-art diagnostics, Terry and staff will solve your problem and get you back on the road. Depend on Enders, where experience runs deep. 35 years deep. Enders Auto Repair, Federal Highway, just south of Stevensville.
From the Pat Moody Studios, this is WSJM-FM Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, a product of Midwest Family Marketing and Media. Proudly serving our community. The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
7:58, just a couple minutes before 8 o'clock. We'll have ABC News. We'll also have our local news from the WSJM newsroom. We're pleased to have had Glenn Youngstead and Arthur Havlicek. Glenn is the supervisor of Lincoln Township, and Arthur is the president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. You've got a brand new form of government. I mean, it's been in place for a few months now, Glenn. How's it going?
I think it's going very well. Ralph Banson is the new township manager, and he handles a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I've known Ralph for a long time. As a matter of fact, our daughter was in Ralph and Elaine's wedding probably 30 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
So we've known each other, and we've been kind of joined at the hip on a number of issues. So I think is working very well. We have a new township clerk and Mike Brown, and he's handled that job very well. And it's new to him. He was a former state police officer. So it's a little different from being a policeman.
Yeah.
But he's obviously will be handling elections, also handles cemeteries. And that's kind of an interesting thing. I don't think he ever thought about being involved with cemeteries, but
people are dying to get on there.
Yeah, something. Oh, that's a bad one.
Well, you started with a dad joke. I had to conclude with one. Okay. And unfortunately, we've got to conclude now. But if there's more to talk about, how can people get in touch with the folks at Lincoln Charter Township?
Okay, you can call 269-429-1589, or if you want to get a hold of me, it's supervisor@lctberrien.org, and my extension is 104.
Okay, very good. Glenn Youngstead, he's the supervisor of Lincoln Charter Township. Arthur Havlicek, president and CEO of Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. Thank you both for coming in today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, it's 8 o'clock. We've got the latest from ABC News. Our local news is coming up next.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Trump